Howdy fellow simmers, welcome back to my channel. I am a cupcake sim and today we're building a castle. I was looking at the new patch, making puddles, making ponds, and I thought this would be perfect if I could make a moat. And I was debating whether I should make a mansion or a castle, and I was like, you know what, it's a moat. We're making a castle. I've never built a castle before, but I do know that every time I see these octagonal rooms, I can't use them in my builds because they just feel so weird because I'm like, these are too fancy. These are something you'd use in a mansion or a castle. And I was like, well, now I'm building a castle, so I'm going to use them. Wasn't quite sure how to use them at first, so I just kind of placed them around on the lot. And then realized, oh, if I stack them on top of each other, which you'll see me do later on in the video, I can turn them into towers or pillars. And so that was my idea. I was like, okay, I'm just gonna have a bunch of towers, because that's something I think about when I think castle. I was also trying really hard to make this castle symmetrical. Not that every room has to be, not that every building has to be symmetrical. There are a lot of really pretty buildings that aren't. I just struggle making myself build something that isn't symmetrical just because it's a lot harder for me. And so you will see I struggle a lot with making the back of this castle symmetrical. And it was really annoying me that I couldn't, because I was hesitating trying to branch out to do something that wasn't symmetrical, especially on a project this big. And stepping out of my comfort zone on a big project was kind of scary for me. But I do it in the end because I just couldn't get the symmetrical situation to work because I didn't want it to just be a flat wall in the back. I did try to make indentions in it and cut those out so that it wouldn't be flat, and that just looked weird. It looked like it had two little feet in the back, which was just annoying. And so I did try to move it around a little bit before I just scrapped that idea and delete the entire wall. And so that is kind of annoying. So if you'll see, I'm just doing a lot of fiddling with this, really trying to postpone the inevitable of going out of my comfort zone, which it is a good thing that I do because we all need to learn, we all need to grow. Just that growing can be scary. Yeah. Growing up, though, growing up is even scarier. I don't want to do that. But we can grow in The Sims. Okay? We can improve our building skills. So in the back, you'll see I put that diagonal over there. I end up actually replacing that one pillar with the two, like you'll see in just a second. And I was kind of concerned of having pillars in the back and pillars in the front because I wasn't sure if you'd be able to see the back pillars. And so here I'm going in and making all the pillars taller, not all of them, but the two on either side of that indentation where the door is going to be, I kept them short so that the two all the way on the sides would be a little taller, so it would look a little bit more realistic. And I made this really big octagonal room in the back even taller. My plan was that I was going to be able to put either a dungeon or an observatory up there. I actually do try later when I'm roofing to make the roof glass so that it can be an observatory, and you'll see that that doesn't work. And right here, I realize those back pillars, if I want to make them visible, I'll just make them taller. So I do that. I just did. And now I'm adding the walls for this second story. I didn't want the second story to be the same thing as the bottom story because I really wanted this octagon in the middle to be visible from the front. So I did those diagonals on the side which I think actually did look really okay in the end. I was kind of worried about it at first, but I think it looks decent. And here I am messing with all of the roofing and trying to get it to fix or to fit to the size. And the octagonal roofing isn't adjusted the same way that the octagonal rooms are, which was kind of difficult to work with, but I did figure it out eventually to get the sizing correct. But the height and the pitch of the roofs, I was having a little bit more difficulty with because I wanted it to look good, and then I wanted all of the roofs on each of the smaller pillars or towers to look the same. And so I just kind of gave up and copied and pasted them instead of trying to just get them to match on their own. And I did feel like that back corner just felt a little bit off. So in a second, you'll see I'll add another room to the top. And it was kind of difficult to add an octagonal room on top, so I just moved it to the side to adjust the sizing and then put it back up there. And then if I didn't like it, I brought it back down, adjusted it a little bit more. I did spend quite a bit of time on this because I ended up with that little indentation in the back, which I didn't want because I didn't want to have to worry about it when furnishing it. Speaking of furnishing, I don't get to the furnishing part in this episode just because it ended up being so long in the end. And so I will have a second episode that is me furnishing and laying out the um, different rooms and the interior, which is going to be fun. I'm also going to put just the exterior on the gallery so you guys can refurnish them on the inside because I figured that would just be fun. And if you want me to see it, you can just, I don't know, can you tag someone in the gallery? If you can, do that. If not, I'll just search for it. I'll find it eventually somehow. You could probably put like hashtag cupcake sim, and so I can search it by the hashtag, but I don't know if tagging like works if you do it any other way. But if you do that, I can search that hashtag. And so here I am, I'm adding the fences or they're technically just short stone walls to the top of this building because I wanted the top to be somewhere where like the guards would march around and they could protect the castle. I realized that in The Sims you can't really hire guards or butlers or anything like that. So when I furnish it, I might just furnish it twice. One of them where I furnish it like an actual castle, and then another one where I furnish it like a giant fancy diner so then you can actually use it in The Sims. Maybe, I don't know. Maybe furnishing it once will give me a headache and I won't want to do it again. We'll find that out when we get that far. But at this point, I'm just making it like a castle. I do go in on the inside and delete all of the interior walls later so that I can figure out the layout in my next video because I didn't want those to get in the way. And I figured I'm already here dealing with the build, so I'll just take care of that. And then also for the color scheme for the exterior, I almost went for an entirely black castle because I thought, ooh, we can have a spooky castle. And then I changed my mind. You'll see what I end up doing later. Here's when I tried to make an observatory because I tried to just lower it and make it more gabled so it was more rounded out. Not gabled is the wrong word, pitched. I was really trying to make the observatory, but I couldn't do it so it looked good, so I just gave up. I'll figure out what to do with that room when I furnish the castle. And here I am doing the exterior, trying to figure out if I wanted stone or if I wanted brick, so I kind of put stone everywhere. And then I changed my mind, so I went with this gray brick, which does look a little bit like stone. And I think I missed that back pillar. I'll have to go in and fix that later. But I did do this and I thought I liked it, and then I was trying to figure out what flooring I would use for those top areas. Oh, I did center the thing on the lot. I was trying to bring it forward, line it up, and then scooch it back one by one. So it's more in the center of the lot so that I could end up with a moat all the way around. I did go in and try the different styles with the stone walls on the top, seeing if making them black did anything. I didn't end up liking it, so I just clicked the back button a few times to make them white again. For the flooring on the top, I did try to make it so that it would be stone because I thought that would be cool, but then that didn't work, so I went with the gravel thing because if you'll notice, that's also a roof, and you can use the gravel thing as a flooring or a roof. And I was like, oh, I'll just use that. I did look to see how it would look on the roofs. I didn't like it, so I just used it for the flooring up there. And then I came up front and I made a patio. I did have to look up how to do the triangles because I had seen it before, but I wasn't sure how to do it. It's just Control F and it turns it into small triangles. And it saved me because just having that brick in front looked a little bit weird. And here I was really happy that I was going to be able to use these obnoxious front doors that are always right in your face every time you do a build because they're the cheapest door, so they're right there. And I always wanted to use one, but I'm just like, that only works if you're doing that type of build. And I don't often do that type of build, so I was very happy to use that. And then I found these little fenced off arches that are technically labeled as windows, which was kind of odd, but you know what? I decided to use that for that area up there. Wanted to make it a little bit open. I do think I end up putting a hot tub in there just because I was tired of looking into an empty room. I will probably remove that and make a lounge area when I go in and furnish the castle. Or do you know what would be even better is if I put a cupcake machine. That would be awesome. I love cupcakes. But in The Sims, they're just so annoying to try to make. Because the cupcake machine is so obnoxiously large. So maybe we can use that. And so I'm in here finding windows that I can use. I did end up thinking about using another door, which would have made more sense to use a even grander door. It's a castle, and I wanted to use something that matched the windows. But I was like, but also I really like this front door. So instead I ended up using that fancy lavish door somewhere else. And it's really hard finding the right windows because there are only so many in a set, and if you want the windows to have matching swatches, you have to use them from their little sets. And it was slightly annoying. I did try to put windows on the sides and on the back, but I couldn't figure out a way to do it where it looked decent, and I figured, wait, it's a castle, it's supposed to be a stronghold. Windows are easy to bust into, so you're not going to want to have too many of them. So just in the front to look nice would actually make sense. And so I didn't put any in the back because it's a stronghold. And so we're probably going to have a couple of issues with that when I go to furnish it. I might add more windows then, just because a bedroom without a window is kind of sad. And also, I'm pretty sure that's against regulations in some places in real life. Pretty sure I learned about that in my design class. Yeah, a room is required to have at least two exits, one of them preferably being a window. Anyway, so I did put doors on those two pillars in the back to come onto that top patio, or marching ground, or whatever it's gonna end up being. And I did that because I was like, oh, well, knights need to be able to get to where they're going to be knighting. That's not the right word. Protecting. I was trying to put it on a foundation, and it was kind of being weird because that front patio would have had to be lifted, but I didn't want to have a lifted front patio. But I did have to have this bridge because I'm gonna put a moat. And I wasn't sure how to do the bridge. Wasn't sure if I wanted to do it with the foundation or if I wanted to do it with the platforms. If you'll see, I start out with it being platforms here, and then I had the struggle of you can't have stairs on that last tile because it's too close to the edge of the property. And so the bridge wasn't gonna go all the way over to those stones like I had hoped. And so here I'm trying to figure out what to do. I did try to put the castle up on a foundation again and it didn't work. And so, excuse me, sorry. Sorry again. I did just do it with foundations and then I ended up using the foundation uh, tools that I made it look like it was on stilts so that when the moat goes underneath it, you can actually see the water flowing beneath it, which I thought was going to be really cool. So that was fun. And then here's the fun part, actually landscaping and making the moat. I'm not the most smooth with the terrain tools, so the moat is not as perfect as I would have hoped, but you know what? If it was dug by hand, like it was oh so long ago, because I'm pretending this is a really old castle, even though I just made it, it wouldn't have been perfect. So it's fine not being perfect. Or maybe I'm just telling myself that so I don't get upset. Anyway, I was really having fun with that. I was trying to make it look as nice as I could before I realized, oh wait, I'm just gonna fill it with water. You're not gonna see the bottom of it. And then I realized, oh wait, yes you are, because I left it green. So I have to go in with the terrain paint to make the bottom of it brown. After I go in and smooth it out a little bit, because it did have some rough edges where it was looking like pixelated water. Nobody wants that. So I did go smooth that out. And then here's where I go in and put the dirt at the bottom so you're not having grass growing at the bottom of your moat. I did struggle a little bit because I didn't want to use the tiny terrain tool because that would take really long, but I didn't want to use the big one because then it would come outside of the moat. And so I used a medium one and struggled with both issues instead of picking one. Because, you know what, I can never be happy. It's fine. It did look okay in the end. And here you'll see that I'm just adjusting the bridge because I didn't have it centered with the front door, so I am adjusting that. I'm also looking at the underneath of the bridge because I wanted both of those two pillars in the middle to be in the water. So I did widen the moat a little bit, but then I had to go and widen it all the way around because I didn't want it to be wired just in the right in front of the door. And here's where I go in and I delete all of the interior walls just so that my life will be easier during the filming of the next video when I lay out the layout of the interior. And so I am just deleting all of those, which is it took a little bit longer than I expected because I had to delete it panel by panel, but it wasn't terrible. I think also I was postponing having to put other landscaping just because I wasn't quite sure what I was going to do. I wasn't sure what I wanted the water to look like because I knew I wanted it to be a little bit murky because it's a moat, not a manicured little fish pond. And so I did go with a slightly mossed over look. And then I started adding a bunch of lily pads, which took longer than I expected because, again, it's a really big moat. And I was actually really happy that there are so many lily pad options because they're all super cute. And so I used all of them, which is probably a little bit excessive. I did fill this moat with stuff, and so it does look a little bit crowded. Is that the right word? Is that the word I'm looking for? Yeah. I did make sure I went in and added the single lily pad options because I wanted to be able to put frogs on them. And I also put the logs that have turtles climbing on them when you're in live mode. And at the end, I do come back in live mode just to show all of the little creatures and to activate all of the actions. And so that was really fun. And then here I'm just going and adding grass, which I did think was a little bit weird that the grass was just floating in the middle of the water. But I wasn't going to complain because it did look also really cool as well as looking weird. And so here I'm going in and I'm adding fish and I'm adding fireflies. I think I go in, I add dragonflies. I was about to say lightning bugs and then I realized fireflies and lightning bugs are the same thing. I go in and add a bunch of ducks as well. That's because I have a minor obsession with ducks. I'm not joking, I have a box sitting next to me full of plastic ducks. I mean, they're tiny plastic ducks, but they're plastic ducks. Slight problem. I like them about as much as I like cupcakes. Anyway, so I am going and adding those now. And if you'll notice, here's when the moat looks really crowded. I added a lot of ducks. And now here I'm going in and adding the live edit cheats and the hidden objects cheats just so I can see all the debug trees. And also I get this cool sign in debug that makes it so that the water's already stocked with fish. So that's really cool because it's a castle. I don't have time to stock the moat with every single fish. I don't know how many fish that sign comes with to pre-stock it. It's probably just a few, but it's still fun. And then I just put this giant log in the back because I thought it looked cool and I wanted to put this other one, but it was a little bit off, I guess. It felt weird. So I didn't put it. And then I'm adding trees in the background and I'm trying to rummage through debug to find more trees that fit the surrounding area. I ended up scrolling too far and getting lost in the expanses that is really cool debug stuff. So I ended up scrolling all the way to the bottom and had to scroll up to find more plants. It's okay. I did get it done eventually. I just wasted a little bit more time than I should have. I also found this really big obnoxious tree that I put in the front. I wanted to put another one, but then realized I couldn't fit it. This front, right on the either side of the front door, is where I struggled really hard because I wasn't sure what to do. I didn't want to just put hedges, but I also wanted it to look decently manicured. So I was putting like flower bushes, but I was struggling to make it look natural without looking overgrown. I failed. It looked really overgrown in the end, especially since I added those corner bushes. But it's fine. And then I went and decided that I was going to add just a couple of chairs and benches to that front patio as a last finishing touch. And while I realize typically that belongs in the furnishing section of a build, it was exterior furnishing. So I went and did it, even though technically the roof is also exterior furnishing and I didn't do that. Oh well. I was also really happy that those benches were the perfect size for those diagonal walls. It just filled my little OCD heart with joy. I also ended up putting a fountain in the middle, which is a little bit over the top, but it's a castle. Everything about a castle is already over the top. So don't come at me. It's perfection. Not actually. I am feeling a little bit self-conscious about it, but it's fine. I also added these really cute fountains on the edges of the bridge, and they'd be going over the bridge and into the water, which I thought was really cool. And then I realized I didn't add any railings to the bridge, which is slightly a health hazard. Someone's gonna fall off and die. But after I realized that, I do go in and add railings. I couldn't add railings all the way across because then it would interact with the fish, and I'm just like, well, let's just hope our Sims are smart enough to not kill themselves. And then I added a couple little fountains in the front, just to help with the aesthetics. Because I could. And then right here is when I got a little bit confused because I felt like I wasn't quite done. But at the same time, I felt like if I added more, there'd be a problem. So I went and I added knight statues. Because it's a castle, and we needed knights. We need to protect our realm. And so we have these silver knight statues on top. I don't remember exactly how many I add. I think I just put them in places where they would seem convenient. I'm not really sure what was going through my head at this point. I was probably just trying to get in the last finishing touches, trying to go through my brain of what did I miss? What did I forget to do? Because I know that every single time I go and look back at one of my builds, I realize, I should have done that, I should have done that. And right here is when I realize those things. And so I'm just like, I was really annoyed at this gazebo that I was looking in it, and it was just being empty. So I just threw a hot tub in there and decided, you know what, if I don't like it later, I can get rid of it. And then I also realized that you can't get in there because there weren't any openings, so I found an arch that matched those fenced off arches. And so that was open, and that was cool. And then I noticed that the walls were kind of clipping with that second room, so I went in there and deleted those walls. I also found like a random piece of fence in there, but got rid of that. And so this is just about the end of my build, so I'm gonna go get my sim and bring her here so that you can see all of the little creatures in live mode. Here I am with my sim. So I'm going to put it in play so you can see the little ducks swimming around. They are beautiful. And then I go in and I try to click on every single thing that gives you an action and I activate it. So I'm allowing all the frogs on the lily pads and I'm putting the turtles on the logs. And I go around and I do that across the entire moat, which actually didn't take as long as I thought it would. I was expecting it to take like 5 minutes, and it only took like 3. So that's a bonus, which I realize 3 and 5 are still really close to each other, but every minute that I save counts. I was also really enjoying going around and looking at every single duck. I have a problem. So yeah, I am going to put this on the gallery without it being furnished. Just if you want to furnish it, let me know. Put just hashtag cupcake sim. I'll go look at it. Or I might not. I don't know my future schedule. And I don't have very many subscribers at this point. But if I do, that will bring me much joy when I go and find things. And my next video will be furnishing it. I am anticipating much stress. Like and subscribe. Hope you have a good day. Goodbye!